everyone to WISE. This is WISE Student Collective. This is a student-ran nonprofit organization which is meant to facilitate students coming in contact with the ancient spiritual teachings of the Vedas. Veda means knowledge, and it's knowledge which is specifically allows us to become conscious of who we are beyond the mind and the body. And with that knowledge, we can be genuinely happy. So we're going to be speaking about a very interesting topic tonight, artificial intelligence. It's been in the news recently, so if anyone's noticed. Probably all of us use it on a daily basis. I do. I use it for recipes and all sorts of things. And we're going to be speaking about artificial intelligence, what it is, how we perceive it, but then in terms of our existential existence, what is artificial intelligence? Is it just ChatGPT or Google Gemini? Or is there something more to artificial intelligence? And how new artificial intelligence actually is? Or is it something more ancient than we could possibly imagine? So I'm going to pass it off to our guest speaker, Vaisesika Dasa, who's a published author. I'll direct you just momentarily to his book, The Four Questions. This is a pathway to inner peace. It's talking about how the quality of our questions can determine the quality of consciousness which we have. So if anyone's interested in the book afterwards, we welcome you. He's a world teacher. He travels the world teaching about the wisdom which comes from the Vedas and how by accessing that knowledge, we can develop a deeper sense of purpose and become genuinely happy. So I'm going to pass it off to our speaker. And is anyone feeling a little bit warm? Does anyone like air? Yeah? Okay, we're going to get some air in here.
What a pleasure to be with all of you. Thanks for coming out on a Wednesday night. It's Wednesday. As Deva, who just introduced me, mentioned, we're about to get some air. That's the sound that is present before we get it. Oh, that feels good. One of the main wisdom literatures that has guided seekers, philosophers, thinkers over thousands of years is called the Bhagavad-gītā. Some also call it the Gita-upanishad, because in the extremely large scheme of the Vedic teachings, you might want to tell Ekachakra he doesn't need to go get my microphone. Part of the Vedas, there are many commonsensical literatures that talk about medicine. You might have heard of Ayurveda. Ayur means lifespan, and Veda means knowledge of how to stay healthy in harmony with the body and the mind. And then, of course, there's martial arts, military science, various sciences, how to live in harmony with society, divisions of society, so that people can pursue their highest potential in life. And it's varnashrama, various divisions to give people opportunity to study what they have natural proclivities for. And then there's the Upanishads. Upanishad means to sit up close, because there's a natural tendency for humans to want to ask bigger questions than, for instance, the animals ask. Generally, the questions have to do on the animal level of consciousness with eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. But then humans can ask questions about, where did I come from? Why do I have to die? Where am I going after I die? Is there any existence after that? I can inquire. So the Upanishads are the first section of this large body of knowledge that talks about how we're not our bodies. There's a dichotomy between the body and us, who are the consciousness within the body. And this is something that the Gita-upanishad, the Bhagavad-gītā, talks about in very straightforward terms. For instance, in the Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna catalogs the gross and subtle energies of the world. He says there's earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. These are a list, this is a list of gross and subtle material elements. And in the next statement of the Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna says, besides these, there's a superior energy in this world. And this is a study of higher and lower energies that the Bhagavad-gītā and other ancient wisdom literatures give, which is in some sense called tattva. Tat means something you can identify as having a distinctive characteristic. You can point to it. It's a demonstrative pronoun, tat. It's the same word in English, that. You just add an H. You can say that thing or this thing. And so the Bhagavad-gītā points to two different energies. One is the set of energies that I just mentioned, earth, water, fire, air. And if you think about your own body, which is parcel of this universe, you can notice that your body's made up of these energies. There's an earthy part of your body, right? Like if you just check out your knee or your arm, you notice there's some solid mass there. But for the most part, there's water. Can you notice that? Is your arm a little squishy? It's because it's full of water. And then air, take a breath. And luckily you open the window. We wouldn't have been able to do that. And so we have earth, water, fire. What is your temperature right now approximately?
98.6.
That's hot. It's really hot. I mean, so there's earth, water, fire, air, ether means space, mind, and intelligence are distinctive energies according to the Gita-upanishad. And and in addition, there's also what's called ego, which is a kind of juncture between us, the consciousness within the body, and the body itself. So in the next statement, Krishna in the Bhagavad-gītā, he's speaking to his student Arjuna, says, besides these energies, there's a superior energy, and that is the conscious entity that animates the body. And you may notice that at a certain point that some people identify in different ways, medically and metaphysically, that when life is over, however you define it, then the body starts to deteriorate and all the elements go back, they merge back into where they came from, the reservoir of energies. But according to the Bhagavad-gītā, the superior energy never diminishes. That's us, the consciousness. So there's a continuum for us. Even after we finish this present body, we move from this body as much as you would move from one Airbnb to another, because it's just a rented space, and the conscious entity, the superior energy, animates the body, but then when it leaves, the body becomes diminished and returned to its original source. And in the study of the functioning of the body and our relationship with it, there's a description of the hierarchy. Lowest of all is the senses, and above the senses is the mind. Above the mind is the intellect, the intelligence, and above the intelligence is what's called the Atma, or the conscious entity. And there's another entity even beyond the Atma, our individual consciousness. And that's called the Paramatma, or the Supreme Consciousness. So within the body, there's us, who are individually conscious, and you can become aware that you're conscious by just noticing it. You can notice when you wake up in the morning that you're conscious, you're alive. You can even notice it now. But there's another phenomena that you can notice, and that is that you get direction that comes to you as if from a parental source. When we are children and we have parents who are upright and helpful, we're very likely to get good direction from them. Don't touch that because you'll burn your hand, or they may say, now you must drink some water, otherwise you're going to be thirsty, and so forth. So in a similar way, we can notice that we get intelligence from seemingly a parental source. This is noticeable at any moment. We can see that as we move about, as we perform functions, or if we try to figure out a solution to a problem, we may not know it, and then we may know it, and it may come to us as a complete solution. Of course, there are dramatic examples and anecdotes of this, and probably all of you, because you're studious, have noticed that in studying something, for instance, trying to figure out a formula, it may be a conundrum for some time, and then it comes to you complete. And in history, there have been those who have recorded such incidents, trying to figure something out, and then it comes to them. So this is a function of a higher source of information that comes to us on a regular basis. In fact, we see it throughout nature as well. In my house in Burlingame, at certain times of the year, I see and hear a sight that always brings joy to my heart, which is a geese flying either north or south, depending on the season. So a curious sight because, first of all, they fly in a V form, which, although we've never personally interviewed any geese, there's a noticeable advantage, and they do switch positions, and some of them fly in front and so forth, and give the other ones a rest in back, and they draft, just like people do in a race, bicycle racing or running, to stay behind somebody so you don't pick up the brunt of the wind. And they also go to far-flung places. But interestingly, they go to those far-flung places on a regular basis. And they also go to the same places again and again, many of them thousands of miles away. Does anybody know how large a goose's brain is? I don't either. It was probably about that big. And then you get ants, if you've ever watched them or seen what they're doing underground. They create superhighways with directional indicators who gets to go which way. They set up apartments, they rent them out like Airbnb and things like that. They also communicate with one another. Does anybody here study entomology and know how large an ant's brain is? How large do you think it is? It's this big. Yet they have this amazing intelligence to perform many activities. There is a kind of salmon, a fish, that swims in a stream in Muir Woods. It's just north of San Francisco. And one day I was walking there and I saw a ranger with waders on, and he was in the water with some long instrument where he was pulling things out of the water, and I asked him what he was pulling out, and he said it was micro trash. And I asked him what that meant. He said all the little pieces that people don't account for, like gum wrapper pieces and other things. And he said also people throw coins in the water because they feel it will bring them good luck. And then he said, we take it all out because it obstructs the salmon's sense of direction. And then he told me that salmon are born in the freshwater. At a certain point they change, and then they swim down to the ocean, and then they swim for thousands of miles, sometimes for several years. Then they come back to the exact same stream that they were born in, and they swim upstream, and they come to the place where they were originally hatched. And that's where they end the cycle of their life. How big's a salmon brain? You're pretty good at it. Just show everybody. That's a pretty smart salmon. And they said they have some sense of, I mean, there's speculation in the scientific community about how they do that. Some have opined that it has to do with sense of smell. There are other theories as well. Nonetheless, it's quite a mystery how they get about. What to speak of all the other phenomena in this world, living entities who naturally figure out how to survive and do what they do. There's great intelligence you find even in plants, where they reach out, grab onto things, wrap themselves around, go in certain directions, and move about. So there's a kind of universal intelligence in the world as well. And the human has a special kind of intelligence available for understanding causality. That is, if you play with a cat and you put a little paper bird on the end of a string and you start moving it around, I'll try to do an imitation of a cat. He'll keep jumping at it. It doesn't necessarily occur to the cat that there's some person who wrapped a string around a stick and made a bird. It just sees it and goes for it. And then there are other animals, like monkeys are really smart. I have a lot of friends who are monkeys in India. They figure a lot of things out. Super smart. But they don't attend our classes when we talk about metaphysics. So far, none of them have enrolled. They more apply their intelligence to various other mischievous activities, many of them. And so humans are said to have the ability through their brain power, intelligence, to consider causality. How far back does something go? And keep following it back, and then theorize at least about an original source and contemplate that. And as I said before, asking various questions about what happens to us and so forth. So the idea of intelligence is presented in the Bhagavad-gītā. It's a relationship we have with the Supreme that comes to us naturally. And according to the particular kind of vessel we live in, we have more or less capacity to appreciate that intelligence. One of the ways in which the ancient wisdom literatures describe intelligence is when we're able to utilize it to ask the bigger questions in life. And an amazing feature of that is that when you ask, then the intelligence is forthcoming. So now we have a fascination with artificial intelligence. Do we not?
Yes.
Only 2 people like it? And there are a lot of thoughts about what it means to all of us in human society or individually, and what kind of effect it will have on us, and so forth. And as an observation, humans are very intelligent. They can create such technology that creates artificial intelligence. But according to the Bhagavad-gītā, there's a way in which all of the technologies that we use within this world, ultimately, are bringing in from a closed system all the information that we already have and repackaging it in ways that we can try to utilize it. But until we ask a larger question ourselves and recognize the intelligence that's already inherent, that comes to us naturally, we're getting recycled information in different combinations and permutations that don't necessarily bring us to full satisfaction. That kind of intelligence, in the Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna says, comes from a sincere inquirer. We can, when we recognize our free will and we inquire about what's the most important achievement in my life, or how can I become free from suffering? These are big questions. Or is there a cause for suffering itself? These types of answers come to a sincere inquirer from the, as I described, the supreme intelligence that's naturally there within us. So we already have AI, but it's not A, it's just S. It's supreme intelligence that comes to us naturally. And another observation the Bhagavad-gītā makes is, although we have this high intelligence, we can create things that are fantastical, but then we also can become captured by them and controlled by them. For instance, before AI, there was creation of many different kinds of technology. Can you think of any one technology nowadays that seems to consume the attention of most people in the world most of the time? Phone? Who said phone? Phone for 500.
Phone.
Yeah, phone. What is a phone? 500 points. So, yes. Okay. So although we may create various technologies that boggle the mind, we can also be then captured by them. Certainly, a phone is an amazing creation, but then we can end up being addicted to it. And so the ancient sages talked about the ways of exercising our human intelligence to come to an awareness of what's most important in life. And one of the statements of an ancient sage who talked about self-observation was in noticing how our intelligence is overcome by habit. And he said that in a self-questioning way, for how long and how many ways have I obeyed the bad masters of my senses? They've always told me what to do and controlled me, and I've always followed them without question. But now, he says, my intelligence, my natural spiritual intelligence has awakened. It's in Sanskrit called labdha buddhi. It says, buddhi means intelligence, just like Buddha is known as the all-intelligent one, and buddhi means our individual intelligence. My intelligence, my natural God-given intelligence has awakened, and now I'm questioning my involvement with the lower energies and how consequential they are, and also how I've been controlled by them. But now I'm seeking the supreme intelligence. So one of the nomenclatures for bhakti yoga is buddhi yoga. Buddhi means intelligent, and it means to connect our individual intelligence with the supreme intelligence. And that's different from artificial intelligence because it's ever fresh. And it's coming from an intelligence that is bringing us original ideas, not recycled ideas. And so the fascination we have with creating artificial intelligence, which is a great fascination, to see how an arrangement can be made so all the information can be at your fingertips. We already have it. And through the process of bhakti yoga, the means for contacting that is through purification of one's already existing intelligence. And the chanting that we did was an example of one of the processes through which the intelligence becomes clear. And then we have access constantly to supreme intelligence. We call it Paramatma. And this is, according to the Bhagavad-gītā, the advantage of being a human. Not being able to create artificial intelligence or technology through which we manipulate the material energy, because then the material energy just manipulates us after we create it. Rather, we're already self-sufficient to be able to contact the supreme intelligence through the practice of yoga, which actually means to reconnect with that highest intelligence that's already there, that's watching over the ants, giving intelligence to the geese. What else did I mention? And I can't forget our friends, the salmon. They have a brain that big. So the yogis are not bereft. A yogi can be anybody who practices buddhi yoga, or this simple system of reconnecting with the supreme intelligence, the real intelligence. You can do it wherever you live, whatever occupation you're in. You don't have to walk away from the world and live in the Himalaya. But there's a simple process that was brought to the world in a very systematic way, although it's been there for thousands of years, through a teacher called Chaitanya. And he taught how this simple process of chanting, which we just did, brings this sound vibration from the spiritual stratum. And with the chanting, we naturally feel reconnected with that original intelligence. So people have experienced that they feel naturally connected to the higher source of knowledge by the chanting process. And they also experience a sense of knowing that I'm not the body. So these two things are byproducts of the chanting, and they're more and more refined states that come from the process of bhakti yoga. But it begins with the simple repetition of the mantra and spiritual sound. And now let's see if you have any reflections, which means anything that you heard so far about ants, salmon,
AI.
about AI,
Ants, salmon,
Geese.
AI. Geese.
geese,
Cat.
cat. How many animals did I talk about? Plants. Yes,
I have a reflection.
you please.
When you talk about we are not our bodies, perhaps, is it correct to also say that we're not, therefore by extension, our possessions,
Yes.
as you were saying?
Yeah, we're not our possessions. Although, if somebody hits your car, or even scrapes it with a shopping cart, you might say, "You hit me." It's just a natural expression, isn't it? And if you go to try out a new hat somewhere, the salesperson might say, "Oh, that's really you," because there's a sense of connection. And we also might identify with different parts of our body, like, yeah, that's my hairstyle, and that's my hair, and so forth. But yes, we're not our possessions because they're all on loan. You can think of them more as Uber-esque. You get in an Uber and you use it for a while, you get out and go into the next one. So everything we have, including this body, is like an Uber. You just get it for a little while. And how you use it, then somebody gives you a number of stars for how well you used your body in this life. And that's what determines your next ride. So yeah, we're not our possessions either. Although it is a natural tendency to identify with them.
And that natural tendency comes from, you were talking about elements earlier, so this would be like an example of ego.
Yeah. The sense of ego is defined in the Bhagavad-gītā in two ways. Ego is natural because ego just means a sense of self. But when we misidentify ourselves as our body, that's called false ego, because we're not our bodies. Some person thinks I'm a cat, another person thinks I'm an ant, somebody else, salmons think they're a salmon. And somebody thinks I'm American, somebody else thinks I'm Indian. But none of these are true, actually. They're superficial. If I ask somebody how old you are and you say, "Oh, I'm 35," and they go, "No, you're not, because you're not your body. Your body's, the age is constantly changing anyway, but you're not. And you have nothing to do with it."
So I guess my reflection that I wanted to make, or this is just something that when you were talking, it reminded me of this. Like, there's so much obsession in the world these days with like optimizing things and using technology, as you brought it up. Technology just gives you a shortcut for your habits to become stronger. So there's just like, I just wanted to clarify what you meant when you said we are not our bodies. But
Yeah, we're also not Luddites, or nor is the philosophy of yoga to say that let's not use anything and let's not use technology. Even Devavrata, who's a bona fide monk, uses AI. And this is a principle that Krishna brings up in the Bhagavad-gītā, that the world's very valuable when you use it for the right purpose. And he gave this metaphor. You want to hear a metaphor? Mm-hmm. Only 3 people said yes.
Yes.
Oh my. He gives a metaphor of a flower. But it's not any kind of flower. It's one of the most fascinating flowers in the world, called the lotus flower. And a lotus is called, in Sanskrit, Padmaja. It grows out of mud. Padma, ja means to be born, and it lives in the water. But if you've ever observed a lotus flower, you'll notice that it's never touched by the water. So water, it's impervious, which literally means that water can't penetrate it. So when water lands on the leaf of the lotus or on the flower itself, it runs off. And it has an otherworldly, there's an otherworldly sense when you look at that that it never actually touched it. So it's used in other metaphors, but it's used in the Gita to explain how we can be in the world but not be touched by it, and to use things in the world but not be captured by them. And so Krishna says, when we adjust our vision of the world and how we use things, then we're not captured by it. We don't become addicted to, irrationally attached and addicted to certain things that don't do us any good ultimately, because we have a higher purpose. And that higher purpose, interestingly, is something that comes quite naturally to us, which is service. And the idea is that everything in the world can be used for service. And that's another part of yoga, is to use whatever we have, including our bodies and minds and intelligence and technology and whatever you create, in service. And especially service to the Supreme, because that's an idea of watering the root. When you're able to direct your service to the highest level, then you're in a state of what's called yajna. And it's like watering the root of the tree, and we're one of the branches. So you water that part that nourishes everybody and every part of us at the same time. I'm going to look at my watch. We still have a couple of minutes. Do you have any other thoughts you'd like to share? Anybody? Because it's really nice being here with you, and if you say anything, then I'll get to know you better. Yes, please. Here, grab this little microphone. That's because people online want to hear what you have to say too.
How do you find your higher purpose, or in the sense of like this out of body experience? How do you get to that point of stage?
You have to ask ChatGPT.
No.
Just kidding. I mean, you can. It's likely they'll tell you something interesting. How do we find our higher purpose? Well, just like every product, well, I can't speak for every product, but high quality products that you maybe buy on Amazon Prime, delivered to your house, and you open it up, it comes with a manual, hopefully, it tells you how to use it. I need that. I don't intuitively figure out how to use everything, or how many of a supplement to take, or whatever it may be. So the idea is, along with the world comes a manual. And those manuals are they're called Shastra. Shastra means that which keeps you in harmony with your ultimate purpose. And there's an interesting twist in the description of that, because the word Shastra means what I just said it means, and then there's the word Shastra, which means a weapon or a sword. So if you don't find the Shastra to guide you, then you get this direction that comes in kind of an unfavorable way in the world, where we run into things and we get injured by them. Like if you didn't take your driver's training, and you didn't get the memo about driving on the right side of the road in America, and you drive on the other side, then you get what's called Shastra. You get banged up, to say the very least. So there's this system where the knowledge is freely available to those who want it. There's a channel that comes through. It's called Shastra, and commonsensically gives you ways in which to understand your ultimate purpose in life and how to pursue it. There's 3 stages. One is getting the knowledge. That's called sambandha. And then abhideya means there's a practice that you can follow. And prayojana means you can reach the goal. And that's very inspiring for us humans, because we like to have some direction, right? Not just randomly move about the world. And so that's the idea that Shastra, for instance, Bhagavad-gītā, I mentioned in the very beginning, is highly revered in this matter because it gives very straightforward, non-judgmental information to anyone who has the natural intelligence to read it and a desire to read it. It gives very intuitive information that guides us to our ultimate goal of life. Please, go ahead. Do you have more?
Would you like to talk about your experience and your journey and stuff?
Yes, my journey started in kindergarten. And I first remember thinking about why I had to go to school. I didn't think it was a great idea to leave home. But I remember by first grade, I started asking this question of why I had to die. And it might have been precipitated by President Kennedy being assassinated. Because I was in first grade when that happened. And they sent us all home with a note. I don't think we really needed the note. Pretty much everybody knew. But I remember going back to my parents' house, which was only 2 blocks away. And my mom opened the door, gave me a hug. I went and sat in my room and I said, I don't like this arrangement. And why is all this happening? That's when I first started questioning. I used to ask my parents all the time why I had to die and what it meant after, what death meant and where I was going to go and whatever happened. But there were no clear answers. And that went all the way up into my experience in high school. And there were many incidents. It was during a time of turmoil, Vietnam War, a lot of people questioning, the purpose of that. And I also lost a good friend who had gone backpacking and never returned, and nobody ever found his remains either. So I was in a state of existential angst, and at that time I found Shastra. I found the Bhagavad-gītā. In fact, a friend of mine just handed me a copy one Christmas and said, here, this is for you. And I read it, and it assuaged my angst, as it was so straightforward and clear. One of the first questions it answers is about what death actually means, which was a big relief to me to understand that there is no death for the conscious self. We only change places. We're in a temporary body. It's obviously temporary, but we're not temporary at all. We continue. So after reading the Bhagavad-gītā, I became fascinated with the process that it described, especially bhakti yoga. And serendipitously, which is one of the characteristics of those who take up spiritual practice, there's serendipity galore. And I had coincidentally come in contact through a friend of a teacher who was teaching the Bhagavad-gītā and bhakti yoga. And then I went and met that teacher and then took up the practice. And that's been the mainstay of my life since that time, which was 1973, when I first came in contact with my teacher. Is that the kind of detail you wanted, or anything? Okay, thank you. Sharing means caring. Whatever you're thinking, please tell us. Yeah. Here, take that little fuzzy mic, please.
I'm trying to better understand ego. Most times when I've thought about it or heard it talked about, it's kind of described as in the same way you described false ego.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you describe ego in correlation with consciousness? Is it the body's awareness of consciousness? Or I guess, how would you put it?
Well, first I'd put it the other way around, because the body's not aware of anything. We're aware of the body. We sometimes think the body's conscious because we're in it and we illuminate the body, and then we see the illumination in our consciousness. We think, oh, the body's also alive. But it's alive only because we're in it and because the super soul's within it. And the idea of real ego is to see yourself for who you are and to understand that you're not your body. Because ego, again, it just means a sense of personhood, that we have an identity. It's not amorphous. We're not just any energy, we're individualized energy, and it's personal. And so that's real ego, especially when we understand that we are an individual unit of consciousness and we're aware that that's different from the material surrounding that we're in. That's what Krishna says in the Bhagavad-gītā is the beginning of knowledge, is to understand the difference between the body, which he calls a field. He says it's a field of activities, but who's doing that activity? It's the Atma, or the individual consciousness. And false ego means when we misidentify ourselves as the body. So it's the same self, it just gets turned around. So it's confused. And it's kind of understandable. Even great thinkers and yogis in these ancient wisdom literatures admit that it seems like I am my body. It's really hard to distinguish the two. And that's why the process of yoga is important, because it helps us through spiritual intelligence, which comes to us during the practice, through which we see the difference between ourselves and our body. And then we have a clarity, which is a beginning stage of spiritual awakening, that I have nothing to do with this body. Yes?
What role does the process of chanting play in kind of undoing this knot between ourselves as consciousness and our absorption in the false ego?
Could everyone hear his question? What role does chanting have in undoing the false conception I have of myself? Well, first of all, taking time to chant is revealing in that we often don't get time to observe ourselves at all, or place ourselves in a situation where we're not trying to achieve something that is based on a linear design. I'm not trying to go from here to there, because in chanting, for instance, in chanting, we chant on beads, and when we're doing individual chanting, the beads are in a circle, so you're just going around in a circle. So that the mind, which is especially inclined towards achievement, meaning I have to get from here to here, it's going in a circle. Then you have a tendency to become more introspective and think, like, I'm just here observing. And this is one of the practices of yoga, and it takes place very handily within chanting to become aware of yourself. Some people meditate. In chanting, it's a very powerful kind of meditation where you take the time to observe any benign discomfort you have from sitting there and not going from here to there, but just try to see who you are rather than trying to achieve something like look better or have better clothes or get a better job. You're just seeing, who am I right now? So in and of itself, the process of chanting creates a context where we can become more self-observant. Then in the metaphysics of the chanting, there's the power of sound. Sound is an element that is so subtle, it resonates not just, let me say, like a tuning fork. I've done this example when I go speak in various places, or I bring my tuning forks with me. And you whack one with a rubber mallet and it starts to vibrate, and you can hear the tonality of it. And then there's another tuning fork next to it, which you don't whack with the mallet, but you grab onto it and stop the vibration. but then the sound keeps going because the other mallet picked up the vibration from the first one. So with the chanting, there's a scientific description called excitation, through which the energy from the mantra resonates with us. And sound is revealing because, I mean, you think about it in physical science. You use ultrasound to see things that you can't see with your eyes. Your normal eyes, the sound vibration reveals. For instance, a woman who's pregnant has ultrasound. I think there might be more advanced ways of doing it nowadays, but that was the norm for a long time. You could just see the fetus, right? And then you can use stethoscope to listen to the heart. I read an article, I think it was in New Yorker or something, about how those whose ears are trained, any doctors in here? They can listen to the harmonics of the heart and understand the condition of the heart, get a lot of information from that. Whereas sonar, if you point sonar into the ocean, which you can't see, so much particulate matter within the water there, you can't see anything with your naked eye, but the sound reveals it. So in a similar way, the resonance of spiritual sound gives us this spiritual awakening of the Atma, or the consciousness. It goes right to the consciousness because the quality of that sound is resonant with our consciousness. And there's this effect that the main teacher of this process, named Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, said, Chaito Darpana Marjanam. So Chaita means the consciousness in general, like the apparatus that we use to be aware of things. Darpana means a mirror. Marjana means to clean. So he said, our consciousness gets covered with dust or dirt, just like a mirror can get covered and you can't see what's in it. Does that happen here? You get in your car and you can't see out the rear mirror or the side mirrors because of it fogs up. It happens all the time where I live in Burlingame. So you have to cleanse it and then you can see. So he said when you chant, the power of the mantra is it cleanses the mirror of the mind. So you can see yourself and then you can also see the source of yourself. The self is called Atma. We're an individual conscious being. We're persons. Right? Don't you feel like a person? Yeah. Well, there's a source. Our source is also personal. So it goes like this in Sanskrit, Atmanam Akilatmanam. So we like our body because we're in it. But imagine how much we like the source of our very self, and that's yoga. When you realize my highest interest is in my original conscious self, which is called the soul of my soul. And the mantra reveals that relationship that we have with the soul of our own soul. And it's what Krishna says in the Bhagavad-gītā, what spiritual practice should be, not theoretical. He says, Pratyaksha-avagamam dharmyam, means you should feel it for yourself directly. So through the chanting, it purifies the mirror through which we see ourselves, and enables us also to see the Supreme Self. And at the very least, in chanting, and we chanted for a little while. How did you like it? Did you notice anything? You liked it a lot, I could tell. What was the experience like for you? Just sitting in a room chanting with a bunch of spiritual pictures on the wall and stuff. Do you have any reaction? Yeah?
Vibrational.
It's vibrational.
Yes.
Definitely vibrational. And this is what the Vedas talk about, how it's the main process, is vibrational. We can pick up knowledge from other places, but even from the conscious realm beyond the material world, we can pick up information. Were there any other reactions to chanting? I'd love to hear what it was like. Yes, please.
I read an article just recently where they used to use dolphins because they have very sensitive sonar. and birthing for mothers, but they took that experiment away, as they called it, because they saw that the children that were being birthed with the dolphin in the water, and this was in the water, because we're in water, that the children were born with high intelligence, less illnesses, but the government took that away, and they started saying, well, it was not good for dolphins and this and that, but they started to see a change in the children, how their consciousness was lifted by the sonar, because the dolphin was in tune with the child when it was being born, and it was communicating with it through sonar, just purely through sonar. So as the child doesn't have any voice yet, it's just communicating through sonar, and they didn't want that intelligence.
Got it. Interesting.
Yes.
Well, the kernel
Thank
I
you.
would take from that relates to Devavrata's question is about how sound is potent, and the quality of the sound that we take in will determine the quality of our consciousness. And there is, in the gradation, the study of the gradation of sound, the highest type of sound is in the mantra. And the spiritual mantra passed down with best intentions, it gives this natural awakening of spiritual intelligence. Who gets the last word? Who wants to say anything? Yeah.
I just want to say I read your book, The Four Questions, and I just really enjoyed reading it. It's in a very easy to perceive format, you know? And that's all I really want to say. It's great to meet you.
Thank you. Great to meet you too. And thank you for
And,
telling me that you read the book and that you found something in it. It
Yeah.
means a lot to me.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Thank you. Where did you find it?
These guys.
Excellent. Well, now another aspect of this Buddhi yoga, channeling the highest intelligence into our own realm, then our limited sense, we get a sense of the unlimited. Believe it or not, it comes through food. Food also has a vibration to it. And ultra-processed food, it makes your eyelashes curl and all kinds of other things. Ultra-processed food, it gets touched by a lot of people for ideas for profit and just making it taste in a certain way that will attract the tongue, maybe no nutrition or very little, and then packaged in very sterile and unearthly ways. So there is a part of the science of bhakti yoga is very organic. It has to do with breaking bread with friends. That's very important in bhakti, because the time at which people are most themselves and at ease and happy in life, I mean, tell me if this resonates at all, is when you go to meet a friend somewhere and you just eat some home cooking. And people go home for Thanksgiving. It's the biggest travel day of the year. Why are they going home? They just want to sit and have something to eat. So in bhakti yoga, there's this very organic way in which those who are practicing, they always eat together. When I go on a retreat to India, I've been going to this ashram, every October, November for the last 25 years. And one of the nicest parts is all those who are participating, they're all in the same hall. And they take the food together. So the food also is made in a certain consciousness. That is, with an awareness of the ultimate purpose of life. It's done out of service, done out of love, and the food takes on that vibration. It's also offered to the Supreme Consciousness, Krishna, before eating it. So when you eat, you also pick up that vibration. It goes to every cell in your body. And so if you chant, which is quite natural, it's just singing, or if you sit and chant on beads, or just to yourself, the mantra, you'll start noticing that it awakens in you an awareness of the intelligence of the universe, and that's flowing within yourself. No subscription necessary. And then if you eat the food, it brings a spiritual quality to every cell in your body. And after some time, you'll start noticing the shift in consciousness that you have from deliberately eating spiritual food. So all these monks, if you look at them, there's kind of an effulgence that comes out of them because they only eat that type of food. So that's something you can try also. A certain type of foods really obscure consciousness, and other ones make us feel connected to the Supreme by eating. So that's not bad, right? That's the other thing I noticed. When I read that first book I got about Bhakti Yoga, I thought spiritual practice meant you had to fast all the time. I was just eating a little bit. My mom was trying to get me to eat more, and I was saying, no, I have to become self-realized, so I just eat a little palm full of rice or something. But then when it talked about what is called prasad, or spiritual food, I thought, well, maybe that's a better idea. And it's a very joyful process. So chanting, and then eating the spiritual food, and then dancing. We didn't get a chance to dance, which is too bad because I'm writing a book called Never Miss a Chance to Dance. And we missed it. I don't know how we did that. So anyway, those are the few things. And this is a great place to come because it's unassuming. It's sort of isolated, but it's close. And everybody can come. And you can come here and practice Bhakti Yoga. Tons of books to read. That's all Shastra, this kind of stuff I was talking about. Take a whole big stack of books back with you. Just call in sick and tell them you got to read Shastra. And then come here and you can eat too, right? Oh yeah. Everyone's invited from all of Davis. And what county are we in? Solano? And everyone in Yolo County can come here and eat. They can feed everybody in Yolo County, right?
Yes.
They're ready. That's what monks do. They feed people. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Did your parents follow Krishna?
Well, my mom did near the end. And but they assisted me. I became a brahmachari monk when I was 16, and they could have held me back, but they were very open-minded and facilitated me, even when I was underage, to be able to enter into that lifestyle. So I always credit them for that. And my mother, although my father and she were academics and had walked away from whatever churches they came from, I was never quite clear. I was the youngest in the family. Didn't get all the information about their past because they didn't talk about it that much. But they definitely didn't inculcate any religious fervor in me at all. But still, I got attracted to it, and they encouraged me throughout my life. And my father died first, and then my mother became, she took up the chanting in the last few months of her life very seriously. Because something changes when you know you're going to leave your body, in that you realize what you were asking before about, are we our possessions? Or, you realize, not going to keep any of this. I'm on a journey. I'm moving along. So tend to become more spiritually serious. That's what happened. Thanks for asking.
You're welcome.
Thanks, everybody. So we don't starve you all. We want to feed all of Yolo County now? Yeah. Or at least one of the best of all the people in Yolo County we'll feed right now, because that's you. Thank you very much.
A big thank you to Vaisesika Dasa for giving such a wonderful presentation of ancient principles of understanding the difference between ourselves and the body, and then simultaneously getting an understanding of how to organize our life in such a way that we can tune into consciousness, which is a lot more, intelligence, which is a lot more rewarding. We have his book. And how many of you like to get books signed by their author? Anyone?
I like that.
Anyone? A few people.
It's the hardest part of writing a book is signing them later.
Would you be willing to sign some copies tonight if anyone got one?
Oh yeah, I'll definitely do, because that way I get to meet you all. That's the main thing I want to do, is just meet you. If you have a minute or two, I'd love to talk to you.
And most books you get, have you noticed there's a price tag on it? Has anyone noticed that? Yeah. These books we just asked a donation for. So whatever you can give is fine. It's not so much what you give, but the mood in which you're giving. And we just ask people to pay as they like. We understand you're all students. We understand finances can be tight. But if you have a sincere desire to want to connect with the knowledge which you received tonight, please get a copy, and we're happy to facilitate whatever financial circumstance that you're in. And I think you'd be surprised how much we're willing to facilitate. So thank you all very much for coming. We have programs like this regularly, and everyone's always invited. We have a meditation program tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. if anyone's interested in connecting with a morning meditation routine that they could integrate into their life. And we invite everyone to come. The only request that we have is just let us know that you're going to come, because we also cook breakfast, just like we cooked dinner tonight. So thank you all so much for coming, and we're deeply grateful for all of your presence here. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, and if anyone